Hey everybody, this is James P. Wagner here with Local Gems Press. I'm here with Nick Hale. Hey Nick.
Hi, James. Hi, everybody.
And you're watching the Publisher Speakeasy, our Don't Tell Anybody behind the scenes little show where we answer questions that you've asked us, either sending them in through email. Some of these are frequently asked questions that we get when we're doing seminars and teaching courses, or when we're live on tour, and people inevitably come up to us and want to ask questions of the publishers. And so we were like, let's just put them on video so we don't have to answer them again. But we do anyway. So such is the publisher's burden. But yeah, so one question here that's and we do get this question a lot because I guess the idea of this sort of mystifies some people to an extent. But this is an interesting question regarding it: is an ISBN number absolutely necessary, and what do they really do? Of course, the first thing I notice in this question is the redundancy of the number because, ISBN, the N at the end of that stands for number. I know that's one of your personal pet peeves, Nick.
Drives me crazy. You didn't see
Yeah.
me cringe when you said that?
Yeah, I did. I know that's also why I left that in there specifically to make the cringe. But that's like when people
I
say the
see.
ATM machine, automatic teller machine, um, but yeah, I guess the practical side of this question would be is an ISBN totally necessary? Not necessarily, but they are very very useful because essentially what it is it's a tool that helps retailers all over the place basically with the barcode and all that stuff. It helps them catalog it essentially. It puts them in the system. So if you're ever hoping for the book to be in any kind of a brick and mortar store, or ever hoping that it'd be easy for people who are, even used stores in the secondary market or whatever to do that, and also, just to have it like, officially registered with online retailers and things like that, then, yeah, you're going to want to have an ISBN for those reasons because it's a necessary part of just how the business of buying and selling books really kind of works. I mean, that being said, it is perfectly possible for somebody to print up, copies of a book with no barcode, no ISBN on the back, and just go around and sell it themselves. Because nobody, the average reader is not going to be like, if they're interested in the book, they're not going to be like, oh, this doesn't have an ISBN, I'm not buying this, and it's not like there's
Yeah.
ISBN police who are going to come down and be like, oh no, you're selling that book without an ISBN, it's hazardous material, it needs a label. Um, but your options for selling it that way are pretty much going to be limited to what you're going to do outside of stores. So like maybe if you have a really big book tour and you go to a lot of events and do a lot of signings, you could do it that way or something like that. But most people are probably not going to do that. So
Yeah, and I mean, I know there are some people who think, oh, it has an ISBN, it's more official. So
mhm.
there is that advantage. And I believe also Amazon now requires an ISBN in order to sell books
Yeah.
on Amazon. So
Well,
if you
yeah,
want,
it would be a pain in the butt for them to try to list it without one, essentially, considering all the stuff that
right.
they have.
Yeah, so just like how they require UPCs for other products, they're going to require an ISBN. So if you do want to sell your book on Amazon, you're going to need that. And I know that Amazon's print on demand service used to offer you could buy the ISBNs through them. So there are other options for buying them, but and we'll kind of get into that. I have the feeling, James, you have something planned to talk about with that. But in terms of are they necessary? Well, you kind of need to finish the question because are they necessary just for the book to exist? No. But are they necessary to get into the main methods of distributing the book? Probably yes.
Yeah, because like pretty much, the logistics of just the way things move around, that's what it's really there for. So, by having that, it opens up a lot of possibilities. Doesn't necessarily mean, you have an ISBN and then magically every bookstore in the country is going to want the book, but it means that if a bookstore wants to have the book, they can. I mean,
Yeah.
even used bookstores and stuff like that, places like I have, for example, it's like it's still very necessary if you're wanting to, list it on the secondary market, either on Amazon or other retailers like that, or even for, sometimes you look up a book by the ISBN, if you're going through a database or whatever, because it turns out, believe it or not, there's a lot of books that have the same titles. Like war. is bad, or things like that, or like a lot of one word titles that people have, where there's a lot of the same titles. And even sometimes even putting in the title and the author in the huge listings of books out there makes it still hard to find. So sometimes the ISBN is the way you identify the specific book you want, in that regard. But yeah, it's also, just in terms of moving it around from place to place, that's really what's kind of necessary. So yeah, you can't really get it, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, etc. from that. And it does kind of add a level of legitimacy to the book as well, to have it there, to see the barcode. But then people start, asking like all the questions about, well, how do you get the ISBN? Because there's a lot of websites out there that claim to, offer them or whatever, but there's really only one that's like the real one to get them from, and that's Bowker.com. And they're like the legitimate one, for at least for the United States. Yeah, Amazon, print on demand service, a lot of print on demand services and stuff like that, they will have an option to, sometimes they'll provide ISBNs for you, but then technically speaking, they would be considered the publisher of record, by using one of their ISBNs, because they were purchased, from them through their block. So, not that there's really any cases that we could ever really think of where, they're being like, oh, we're claiming the rights for this, or trying to do anything like that with, just because they're the publisher on record. But, just something to be aware of. Uh,
Right. So what that means basically is when you purchase from Bowker, when you purchase your ISBNs from Bowker, you are listed as the publisher of record. And most people, like, you can buy one ISBN, that's fine. That's going to cost you a whole lot of money. It's
yeah.
what, like $1,000 for one?
No,
But
it's 100. I believe last I looked, it was like $125 for one, but it was two hundred and
right,
fifty
okay.
dollars for 10.
Right.
And
So
yeah.
the more you buy, the cheaper the price is going to be. So what some people do is they'll buy a huge block of like 500 ISBNs off of Bowker. They'll use the ones that they need and then resell the rest of them for, 10, 20, $30 an ISBN. So they'll make some profit, but they're not gouging you, and you're still going to get it for a lot less. So if you
Hmm.
see ISBNs for sale on another site, that whoever bought those ISBNs originally, whoever bought that big block, is the publisher of record.
Yeah. And most of the time that's not even really a problem, but it's just something to be aware of, because if you're going through it that way, that it could theoretically be a thing one day. But it's
Yeah.
like unlikely. But yeah, Bowker's the official one. um but yeah, I mean, there was a whole era of time where ISBNs didn't exist, and you still had best-selling books that existed long before they were around. Um, how many, like Thomas Paine's Common Sense, for example, books that changed the country. That was before ISBNs really existed. So yeah, you don't need it for it to exist. And there are still examples of people who, they'll go down to their local print shop, and they'll just print up like, a saddle stitch book or something like that, and they'll get like, hundreds or thousands of copies of something printed out, and they'll distribute them, either selling them or giving them away to, hundreds or thousands of people. So it's not necessarily necessary for wide distribution in theory, but certainly very helpful. And generally speaking, it's not really that hard to actually get. So definitely recommended to do so. At the very least, like if one's going to go to, say, a print shop and print up a book, maybe the first 100 copies you get, maybe they don't have an ISBN, because you're just kind of, feeling it out. But if it starts to actually, move and have traction, then definitely do another printing, adding an ISBN to it. At that point, because it'll just open up a lot more opportunity and a lot more doors to make that happen. Again, in the world that
Yeah.
we live in today, there's so many different products, so many different things, and everything's moving in so many different directions, like crisscross wires or whatever. So those types of things are basically just the way that we get item from point A to point B. So and again, the businesses works a specific way. It's sort of like, a lot of people ask about the different book sizes, and about like, why is everything in like 6 by 9, or 5 by 8, and all that stuff. It's like, well, because you may have noticed that your bookshelves are a specific size. And there, like, there's such a thing as like industry standard. It's like, this is the way that it's done. It's not, sometimes being unique is nice, other times it's just kind of a big old pain in the tush, for. And so if there's an operating system out there to, sell something, and they do things X way, and somebody's insisting on doing it Y way, it might make it harder for them to fit your Y way into their X way. So
Yeah. And like you mentioned, there's nothing that, or you sort of implied, there's nothing that's stopping you from having an ISBN in future editions if you want to skip it the first time.
Mm.
If you're just printing off 25 copies to sell to your local community or to share with your friends, but then later you decide you want to go bigger with it, then you can always go back and add an ISBN. If you're changing editions, that's another reason to maybe change or add an ISBN.
Yeah, I mean, even like
So
between like a hardcover edition and a softcover edition, it's like you would have different ISBNs for that. An updated edition, a revised edition, expanded editions. These would all be different ISBNs, down the line, and that's why a lot of
right.
people they do buy those blocks.
Yeah, I mean, 10, you might be thinking, well, I only have one book. Why do I need 10 ISBNs? But you go through them really fast.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, there was this one little poetry chapbook I remember a guy did where he printed it from his own, home printer, folded it over, very awkwardly stapled it, and was selling those for $5 a piece at these poetry events. Now, there was no ISBN on those books. To be fair, they also look pretty horrible, so I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. But he still managed to sell. I'm going to say at least a dozen or 2 dozen copies of that without it. So it depends on your purpose, which is something we always kind of circle back to, is that it depends a lot on your goals. Like again, if you're coming out with a poetry chapbook and your only goal is to give them out at, like, say your parents' golden wedding anniversary, or something like that, then you don't really need an ISBN for that, because you already have the method of distribution right there, what's in mind. And if you have no intention of it going into a store or anything like that, then yeah, you don't need it. If on the other hand you want to have other readers on top of that, or you're looking to possibly do book signings in stores or go on tour, or things like that, then yeah, would be definitely highly recommended.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's you know hopefully the short and sweet ish version of what to do about that. Thanks for the question. And again, remember, it's ISBN, not ISBN number. The N on there. I know. Again,
Please.
yeah, yes. We don't want to give Nick more seizures than he might already have at
Yeah, I have
various
plenty
things.
of those already, and a lot of searches too.
But so yeah, this has been the Publisher Speakeasy. If you're looking for free poetry prompts, look at the description, below this video. And also, if you're interested in coaching on, publishing your book or whatever, look, that should be in the link as well. We'll see you next time at the Publisher Speakeasy, but shh, don't tell anybody we're here.
Hey, everybody.